Right friends, welcome back to Learning Space. This is revision module number 8. This is on important terminology. As far as important terminology is considered, this is the second module. In the first module of important terminology, we discussed some important words, and these words are more important, or you can say these words which we are going to deliberate in this module are highly important. Look at the first one. This is epidemiologic transition. And this word is quite often used in recent times because to indicate the disease burden. When one looks at India, the disease burden due to non-communicable diseases like heart problems, like kidney problems, like high blood pressure, right? So these are more in comparison to communicable diseases. So in the context of the disease burden because of non-communicable diseases is higher than the disease burden because of communicable diseases. So this change occurred in India. So in this context, this word is quite often in the news. So India attained this type of epidemiologic transition. So this is used in this context, don't forget. And quite often the word DALYs is used, disability adjusted life years. That means because of the disease burden, what happens here? Disability, because of disability, because when a person is bedridden, when a person is not able to do the normal work, then what happens? Or you can say when the person is not able to go to office to attend the job because of disability, then it is the years of life lost due to disability as well as premature death. So because of premature death, because of the life lost because of disability, these two if you add, you will arrive at disability adjusted life years or DALYs. So DALYs is a quite frequently used word, and please do not forget, as we have discussed here, epidemiologic transition took place. That means the non-communicable diseases, that means the problems or deaths or the disability due to non-communicable diseases is now higher in our country in comparison to communicable diseases, which is known as epidemiologic transition. And disability adjusted life years, if you see, more DALYs are attributed to non-communicable diseases in comparison to communicable diseases. Right, these two words are very, very important from your examination perspective. Look at the next one, migrant caravan. This is also quite often in the news. This pertains to Central America region. These are the people marching with a view to escape violence, and in some countries of Central America like Guatemala, like Honduras, people are escaping violence as well as insecurity, and some of the Central American countries are most dangerous because of violent crimes, and the people are marching towards United States of America. That is known as migrant caravan. Frugal innovation. Frugal innovation is the word normally used in the context of emerging markets. Here, frugal innovation, or you can say, let me start like this, any business innovation. Any business innovation basically looks at the moneyed people, that means better off sections of society. And frugal innovation main concept is to look at the bottom of the pyramid. So innovation keeping in mind bottom of the pyramid. And this word is basically used in the context of emerging economies. So it discovers new business models to serve the users who face extreme affordability constraints. Or you can say the persons who are not able to spend much money. So if they are able to spend not much money, then innovation, if it benefits them, that is known as frugal innovation. And India is known for frugal innovation, please don't forget. In a nutshell, I would like to tell you, this is used in the context of emerging markets. Innovation which benefits poorer sections of society. One example is Mitti Cool. Mitti Cool is the refrigerator developed which will benefit the lower sections of society because of its low cost. So when low cost products are developed, keeping in mind the bottom of the pyramid population, or you can say below poverty line population, That is known as frugal innovation, and India is known for frugal innovation. Please do not forget. Look at the next one, multipolarity. This word is quite often used. That means it is in the context of various countries. Power and influence. Power and influence may be in the domains of this economic, military, cultural. So here when it is distributed among 3 or more countries, we call it multipolarity. Have a glance at it. Unipolar. So United States of America during 1990s was considered, that means after the collapse of USSR, United States of America was considered as example of unipolar and bipolar during the Cold War era between USA and USSR. These two were considered as two poles. It was bipolar era. And multipolar, now it is the distribution of power in which more than 2 nation states have nearly equal amounts of military, cultural and economic influences. Then you call it multipolar. Very, very important, right? Look at the next term, that is fixed term employment. Workers will be entitled to benefits available to the permanent workers. That means the aim of the government in notifying fixed term employment is contract workers. Contract workers, the concept of contract workers is to be eliminated, or you can say at least some of the contract workers should be brought under fixed term employment. That means under fixed term employment, here benefits will be available just like permanent workers. Here hire and fire becomes easy. That means it is easy for the companies also. Companies whenever they want they can hire, companies whenever they want they can fire with minimum hassles. That means hire and fire becomes very easy. This is the concept of fixed term employment, and the central government notified fixed term employment through an executive order, and it is not clear whether states will follow it or not, because this labor is in the concurrent list. There is no parliamentary nod, or you can say it was not brought through legislation, but it was brought through an executive order with regard to fixed term employment. Please do not forget. And the main concept of fixed term employment is to turn contract workers into fixed term employment, so that contract workers stand to gain in terms of statutory benefits and greater sense of accountability from the employer, right? The main aim is, instead of contract workers, here under fixed term employment, employers, or you can say companies, will in fact recruit the employers under fixed term contract basis, maybe for 6 months, maybe for 3 months, and at the same time they are eligible for all statutory benefits just like the regular workers. And here the important aspect is companies can hire and fire whenever they want. That is the important aspect to note, right? We learnt about unipolar, bipolar and multipolar, and let us look at money finance or monetizing the fiscal deficit. In recent times there is a news report that fiscal deficit can be monetized by printing currency. So whenever the fiscal deficit, what is fiscal deficit? Fiscal deficit is the gap between government's expenditure and revenue. So this is fiscal deficit, and there are 2 ways. One is government can print more currency. So printing more currency is known as money finance or monetizing the fiscal deficit. But what the government is following is debt financing. Debt financing means government issues the bonds to get money from the market, right? This is debt financing. Government may access money from the public account also, that is another way. And here debt finance is normal process. So the meaning of debt financing is normal process of government selling the bonds. The bonds can be sold either domestically or internationally to mobilize money, basically to fill the gap between expenditure and revenue, right? This is debt financing. So what the government in our country does is normally they resort to debt financing, but There is a news report that government can go for monetizing the fiscal deficit by printing the currency. It is known as money finance also. Please do not forget. These two words are very, very important. Right, friends? Agglomeration effect. What is this? This is the tendency of the businesses to cluster together in the same region. If you take some city, if you take particular area, there is every possibility the businesses, that means the tendency of the businesses is to clog around there. That means the one company's employees may become customers for other company. Other companies' employees may become customers for other company, like that. This is known as agglomeration effect. Agglomeration effect is the tendency of the businesses to cluster together in one area. This is the real problem India is facing, because in the cities, the businesses are clustering together. They are not going to tier 2 towns and tier 3 towns, right? Extended producer responsibility of plastics. What is the meaning of extended producer responsibility? Here they have to introduce a system of collecting back the plastic waste generated due to their products, and this is mandatory. That means they are using the plastic and the responsibility given to them. That means if they are selling something in the plastic bag, then the responsibility is on them to collect it back. That is extended producer responsibility. It is mandatory as far as plastic manufacturing is concerned in our country. Local bodies and gram panchayats are responsible for implementing and coordinating plastic waste management system. Please do not forget. Look at the next one, plurilateral agreements. In recent times, we are hearing about it. Some people say plurilateral agreements strikes at the multilateral organization like WTO. WTO works on the basis of consensus. Please do not forget, right? All the members have to agree. So that is the concept of World Trade Organization. World Trade Organization works on the principle of consensus, right? And now this plurilateral agreements means here countries come together in small groups to negotiate outside multilateral frameworks. That means multilateral framework example is World Trade Organization, and without all the countries, that means when the countries are not able to come to the consensus, some of the countries will come together. That is known as plurilateral agreement. And the important aspect is benefits are extended to all the members, whether they participate or not participate, but the obligations will be on those group of countries. Benefits will go to all the countries, but obligations will be binding on those members who join in the plurilateral agreement. In the recent e-commerce deliberations, this word came to the forefront, right? So if you look at the binding commitments, that means if you look at some of the benefits which looks at the countries involving binding commitments, so some of the benefits accrue to the participants who undertake binding commitments. So therefore you can say normal benefits extend to all the members whether they participate or not, but some of the benefits accrue to only the participants who undertake binding commitments. This is all about this, right? Legacy issues. These are the issues. Quite often you come across this word legacy issues. This government quite often says this non-performing assets and twin balance sheet problem is the legacy issue. Legacy issue means these are the issues that remain from an earlier time. That means the government is using this word because the issue of non-performing assets is there from the previous government period, right? So these are known as legacy issues. Please don't forget. Then multi-layered packaging. Quite often you hear this word. This is MLP. Multi-layered packaging means it consists of containers made from paper, aluminum foil and polyethylene film. So therefore multi-layered packaging, because so as to store the product for longer duration. To store the product for longer duration, they in fact go for multi-layered packaging. Most of the snacks, These are packed in this multi-layered packaging. So they will be fresh for number of days. So therefore, for that they are using paper, aluminum foil and polyethylene film. And the basic problem with multi-layered packaging is they cannot easily be recycled. They cannot be recycled easily. They are having paper, aluminum foil, polyethylene film and some other components. And here the consumables can be kept afresh for extended periods of time at room temperatures. For example, kurkure packet can stay for longer duration. The basic issue is here, it is packed in such a way it can be kept fresh for longer duration. This is the beauty of multi-layered packaging, but we are facing huge problem because of multi-layered packaging, because it cannot be easily recycled. Right friends, circadian rhythm. This is the 24-hour cycle. Quite often you come across this word. It is 24-hour cycle that influences various physiological processes in our human body. So here important things like metabolic rate, body temperature, blood pressure, secretion of hormones, these are all influenced by our 24-hour cycle, when to eat and when to sleep. All these things are decided by the 24-hour cycle. The technical name for this is circadian rhythm. Please don't forget. Carbon market, carbon credits. Carbon credits, most of you are well aware, it allows countries or industries to earn carbon credits for the emission reductions. When they are reducing the emissions, suppose this is the benchmark, if they are reducing the emissions, that means they are able to satisfy with this much of emissions. This is in fact what they have reduced. So here they can sell them, or you can say they can trade them for the highest bidder in exchange for money. And the buyer of the carbon credits can show the emission reductions as their own and use them to meet their own reduction targets. Right friends, this carbon credits, most of you well aware. Artificial intelligence, have a glance at it. It is making a computer or computer controlled systems or software think intelligently, similar to the intelligent humans think. That is the meaning of artificial intelligence. Look at the next one, Deterrent Patrol of INS Arihant. INS Arihant, we learnt about it. And in this context, recently there is a news report that Deterrent Patrol of INS Arihant is completed. What is the meaning of this Deterrent Patrol? Deterrent Patrol is demonstrating the submarine, I am talking about in the context of INS Arihant, demonstrating the submarine for its full operational ability, like establishing standard operating procedures and testing the functionality of radio communication systems. Right friends, this is about Deterrent Patrol. That means it is ready with the standard operating procedures and it is ready with the functional radio communication system. So in this context, this Deterrent Patrol is the term used. Then the next important aspect is partial credit enhancement to bonds. Right here, once banks extend partial credit enhancements, then the credit rating of the bonds will be enhanced. Very important. That means when the banks are certifying, or you can say when the banks are supporting particular bonds with partial credit enhancement, right? And then the credit rating of the bonds will be enhanced. That means here one word you can use, banks are giving confidence to the investors. Banks are giving confidence to the investors with credit enhancement to the bonds, and because of that, investors will have confidence in investing the bonds. This is all about partial credit enhancements by the banks to the bonds. This is quite often in the news. Then additive manufacturing, very important word, and 3D printing you are talking about. 3D printing is one of the elements of additive manufacturing. Additive manufacturing main thrust here is, it is development of computer aided design software and primarily revolves around depositing the material layer over layer, right? So therefore, the product is designed through computer aided design software, and after that the material is in fact deposited layer over layer, and this is known as additive manufacturing, and this is different from conventional manufacturing, right? So here computer aided design software that can be centralized, and after that the manufacturing may take place at any place. And 3D printing, we often come across the word 3D printing. It is one of the elements of additive manufacturing. One more important aspect about additive manufacturing is it will have less number of moving parts in comparison to conventional manufacturing, and because of that the maintenance cost will be less. The next important word is crony capitalism. This is the system characterized by mutually advantageous relationship. That means when the business leaders and government officials, that means the bureaucracy and the business leaders, politicians, when they have some sort of cozy relationship, or you can say business leaders, government officials, politicians, when they have some sort of secret understanding for mutual benefit, that is known as crony capitalism, right friends? Energy intensity. Energy intensity is unit of energy per unit of GDP. Unit of energy per unit of GDP. That means it is used as indicator for energy efficiency for an economy. So energy intensity is the term that is calculated just like this. It is units of energy required per unit of GDP. Which one is better? If it is more, it is better, or if it is less, it is better. If the energy intensity is less, it is better. So please don't forget, decline in energy intensity is a proxy for energy improvements, right friends? It indicates here improvement in the energy utilization is there. So please do not forget, this energy intensity is unit of energy required per unit of GDP. If it is less, it is better. So decline in the energy intensity is a proxy for energy improvements. Then friends, quite often we talk about herd immunity. Herd immunity is basically resistance to the spread of contagious disease within the group of population. So if you look at some locality, if you look at some area, here when the resistance is there for the spread of the contagious disease, then it is known as herd immunity. Please don't forget, right? And herd immunity may happen because of the artificial resistance created through immunization. Sometimes it may happen naturally also. So natural immunity may be there, and sometimes the immunity may be because of the vaccination, right? So it occurs when high proportion of the individuals are resistant to the disease. So herd immunity means the spread of the contagious disease that becomes difficult, right? And this is possible, very important, when higher proportion of the individuals are resistant for contracting that disease, and this resistance may happen because of immunization or natural, right? Very important. Then affirmative action or positive discrimination. Quite often we talk about the word discrimination, and in the context of 10% quota for the poor. Recent 103rd Constitution Amendment Act is giving 10% quota for the poor. All of you are well aware, and in the context, this type of government intervention is known as affirmative action or positive discrimination. Please do not forget. So affirmative action, positive discrimination, very, very important. Please do not forget. And this is used in the context of 103rd Constitution Amendment Act, which gave this 10% quota, or you can say 103rd Constitution Amendment Act, which gave 10% quota for the poor, right? It is 103rd Constitution Amendment Act. Mitigation and adaptation. These two words are quite often in the news in the context of this climate change negotiations, right? Mitigation refers to reduction in the greenhouse gas emissions. How to reduce greenhouse gas emissions? In this context, please don't forget countries have given nationally determined contributions or NDCs. That word is also very important. So, each and every country submitted nationally determined contributions, and the main purpose here about nationally determined contribution is how to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, how to create carbon sink. All those things are involved in NDCs. Adaptation. Adaptation means climate change already occurred. Now, how to improve the capacity of the people to live in a warmer world? Already warmer world became a reality. The temperatures have already been increased by around 1 degree centigrade or so in comparison to the pre-industrial times. So, therefore, under these circumstances, adaptation means how to build the capacity, how to improve the capacity for people to live in a warmer world. Then hard power, soft power, we discussed number of times. Hard power is using countries' military power to persuade other countries. Soft power means using the country's cultural and economic influence to persuade other countries. So, I need not explain more than this. Then highly leveraged. That means the company is having a huge debt in comparison to their equity. Right, in comparison to their shareholding, when the company is going for huge debt, that is known as highly leveraged company. Right here, it means the company has a comparatively high debt, or we can say it is dependent on borrowed capital for expanding its operations. And another word which is used is the company has got less skin in the game. This word is also used for highly leveraged companies. So, companies dependent on more debt, these companies are called highly leveraged companies. Metadata, this word is quite often used. It describes the data with a specific information like depth of the color, image resolution, textual description and other characteristics. And please don't forget, search engines use metadata when adding pages to the search index. Metadata word is also quite often in the news. Then sustainable development, I need not explain you much. Living within our environment limits is one of the central principles of sustainable development, right? And it is the development that meets the needs of the present people without compromising the future generations, right? Then cross subsidization. One classic example is keeping the tariff low for agriculture sector, and then inevitably loss will come and subsequently they will increase the fare for industrial sector, or you can say tariff for industrial sector. Similarly, in the train journey, suburban journey, ₹5 up to 19 kilometers, cross subsidizing, that means freight is charged high and passenger services are charged low. These are the examples of cross subsidization. Right friends, we learned 30 important words. Please stay with Learning Space.